Good morning, viewer. Welcome back to my channel, Hocantalk.english. Now, today the movie is regarding ranking of Vietnam vis-a-vis most of the provinces in China. Now, this kind of movie, I'm quite sure is very informative and interesting. But to prepare a movie like this is quite cumbersome because I have to read up and gather a lot of all this information, put them together and produce a graphic so that I can finally or ultimately produce a video. So I hope everybody can like my video and finish watching the video, because in this video there will be a lot of raw data or information for you all to see. At least your viewing experience will be quite forward and enjoyable, because you can immediately see all the ranking among the most of the Chinese provinces and Vietnam as a country. Now, looking at the first slide, I make the first ranking to be the GDP ranking. So you can see I put in all the China provinces' GDP performance vis-a-vis Vietnam. And because of the limitation of the size of the graphic, so I only put in the top 20 to make the wording more legible. So as you can see, Vietnam at 476 billion is between Jiangsu and Chongqing. Between Jiangsu and Chongqing. Of course, you can look at the slide. Guangdong remain number one, followed by Jiangsu, Shanghai. So you can see the top 20 in China are listed here, with Vietnam being squeezed in between Jiangsu and Chongqing. So from here, you can see the comparison between Vietnam and other provinces of China. Now, if you look at second chart, I actually put down there the GDP growth comparison. That is the real GDP growth rate for 2025. Not surprisingly, among the top 20 provinces in China, Vietnam ranked number one. Because of last year, they managed to achieve a 8% economic growth over the previous year. And rank number two will be Tibet, and Gansu ranked number 3, and Henan and Hebei is number 4 together. So there are other provinces like Shandong, Zhejiang, Sichuan, Xinjiang, Anhui, and Hubei that's ranked on the sixth place, but at 5.5%. The rest of the provinces are listed here, and I will leave you all to go through the slide accordingly. If you all need to take a screenshot, you can pause the video and take a screenshot so that you can keep this information for your future use. After we compare the GDP figure and the GDP growth figure, now we compare the GDP per capita ranking among Vietnam as a country and most of the provinces of China. So you can see here on the ranking, Vietnam is actually ranked last among all the provinces in China. I cannot produce all the provinces all in on one chart. If not, the word will be too small. So I actually cut and paste the top 1 to 10 and then followed by 32, 33, and Vietnam happened to be on the rank on the last at 4717 US per capita. So the rank number 1 will be Macau, which is understandable. Number 2 is Hong Kong. So likewise, so the rest you can take a look. Actually, for Macau is comparable to Switzerland or the UAE already. Of course, Luxembourg is more than 100,000 or close to 100,000 US. Like Singapore is 196,000. So from here, you can roughly see the kind of comparison. I also put in some other country. For example, Beijing is comparable to Japan or Italy. And Shanghai is also comparable to Japan. And Jiangsu and the rest. So again, you can read through all this, which is quite informative. The next slide is equally interesting. I actually go and research of all the R&D spending as a percentage of the GDP. So I go and collect all the information of all the China provinces and then compare that to the numbers of Vietnam. Not surprisingly, those top city in China like Beijing, Shanghai rank above, rank first and second. They actually spend 6.5%, or Beijing spends 6.5% of their GDP on R&D. And again, here Vietnam is ranked among the last, slightly behind Qinghai province. which is at 0.43% of the GDP is being spent on R&D. So from here, you can see some of the ranking. Again, the China national average is about 2.8%. And Beijing, Shanghai, Tianjin, all these provinces rank above the national average. Some of the provinces are listed here, but the rest I actually left them out because if not, the wording will be again too small for reading. So the next slide is to compare the total export value. So I put it down from top to bottom. Again, you can see that this ranking is quite on par or in line with the GDP ranking. I'm not saying that the total export value is equal to GDP. There are some differences. But again, from this ranking, Guangdong is ranked number 1 and Jiangsu is ranked number 2. So Vietnam, if being squeezed into China as one of the comparative provinces, this on the assumption if, then Vietnam should rank number 3. But Vietnam as a standalone country actually lose out to the first 2 provinces, but actually is ahead of the rest of the provinces in China in terms of total export value. I'm quite sure the next slide will be very interesting to many people who wanted to see how much foreign direct investment is being attracted by all these provinces of China vis-a-vis country like Vietnam. So you look from this slide, the only province that actually outperformed Vietnam is Guangdong. Guangdong actually captured most of the the highest level of foreign direct investment into China. And Vietnam at 27.62 billion is number 2. Number 3 will be Jiangsu. So the rest you can see here. And I actually put down there where does the money go to, the primary investment anchors or the sector. So from here, you can have a very clear ranking, and then you can make your own judgment when you come to business decision or something to do with your career. And hopefully this information are useful. Now, the next slide will be quite straightforward. Down here, there is some arrangement whereby instead of putting Vietnam to squeeze into the ranking, I actually put Vietnam after the top 3 provinces in terms of population. I'm not saying that Vietnam has more population, I'm not saying that Shantung and Henan has more population than Vietnam, but in order not to interrupt the ranking of the China provinces, I actually just put Vietnam after the top 3 provinces in China. So as you can see, the population in Vietnam at 102 million is only slightly below Guangdong, and it is actually higher than Shantung and Henan. So from this chart, you can see where does the number of population stand in terms of when Vietnam is being compared to most of the provinces of China. The next slide is also a very straightforward slide. Here I actually compare the land size, the total land area of Vietnam compared to most of the provinces of China. As you can see, the largest province of China will be Xinjiang. This is quite easily understood, followed by Tibet and then Inner Mongolia. How about Vietnam? Vietnam at 300 over 1,000 square kilometers is ranked between Yunnan and Guangxi. So Vietnam is ranked between 8 and 9. Now, Vietnam is slightly larger than Italy or Malaysia. Malaysia, remember, they have East and West Malaysia. So from this chart, you can roughly see the kind of corresponding sizes of all these provinces and Vietnam. And not surprising, Yunnan is about the size of Japan. If you look at Xinjiang is larger than France, Germany, Spain, and the UK combined. So that shows that Xinjiang is really a very vast province of China. We usually use the Gini index to measure income inequality. So the highest the index, it means that the society is having a higher income inequality. So if I use the Gini index and calculate all the index for most of the provinces of China and compare Vietnam, from this chart above, you can see that Vietnam is ranked number 2. So it's after Guangdong. So it shows that Vietnam is there are some income inequality. The numbers here, the Gini index here, the lower the better. So Vietnam in this case is slightly after Guangdong and ahead of Yunnan. The next slide will be quite interesting because this one you have to look at the reverse. The next slide I actually calculate all the unemployment rate published by the relevant official authority. So I actually put them into this chart and plot a graphic and show everybody. I think there's some error on the flat being used, and I apologize for that. So most of the provinces of China, I actually list them on top. And if you can see, actually Vietnam unemployment rate is considered the lowest among most of the provinces of China as a comparison. Because Vietnam has emerged as the second global factory after China, and they are very deeply integrated into the supply chain at the lower end of the manufacturing cycle. And so it's not surprisingly the unemployment rate in Vietnam is at a lower end. The next few slides will be very much on the social ranking of Vietnam vis-a-vis most of the provinces in China. So the first slide, I actually go and calculate the density of hospital. So the rank number one will be Macau. So for every 100,000, how many hospital they are in a certain province or in country like Vietnam. So from here, I put out there the total population and the total number of former hospital. And I put out there hospital per 100K people. So again, you can see that Macau ranked number one. And surprisingly, Tibet is ranked number two. And Xinjiang is ranked number fourth. So from this, you can see that from the strong numbers, you can see that some of the western part of China is actually ranked among the top when it comes to hospital infrastructure. The next ranking is regarding adult literacy rate, and this one from the slide, you can see that they are almost very close. For using Vietnam to compare among all the China provinces, you can see that almost all of them are above 95%. I only put the top 1 to top 20. So the rest, I did not put it inside. But among the top 20, you can see all are above 95%. So Vietnam at 97.24% is ranked between Xinjiang and Shanxi, or ranked up between 8 and 9. Not surprising, Beijing is ranked number one, followed by Liaoning, Shanghai, Tianjin, and Jining. So from here, you can roughly use this as a reference when you make your business decision. The next slide is regarding providing a skilled labor. So this one, I actually calculate the number of university per 1 million resident. And I sorted this ranking again from the top to the bottom. Now, again, Macau has been always ranked number one in some of the parameter or indicator. So in this case, likewise, Macau is ranked number one. Beijing is number two. If you look at some of the interesting provinces like Fujian and Jiangsu, they are ranked number 15 and 16. Guangdong, even though it's an economic powerhouse, in terms of university, they are ranked number 20. For Vietnam is almost is actually slightly out of 20, is between Guangdong and Zhejiang. So from here, you can see a very clear ranking, and hopefully this one will be useful for your own career planning. Now, we are almost coming to the end of the video, so bear with me. The last two videos, I think one of them will be the birth rate ranking for every 1,000 people. What is the birth rate in the past? Again, Vietnam in this case ranked number one. I think they have a highest birth rate of 14.61 compared to the rest of the China provinces. And you can see that Tibet is ranked in China, if excluding Vietnam, Tibet is ranked number one. So from here, you can see the ranking. We are coming to the last slide of today's video. So again, instead of the university, I actually group all the higher education graduate together, and I rank all these provinces in terms of the density. So again, this chart is very self-explanatory, and you can look at that. Vietnam, here, I think they are ranked last in terms of the graduate per 10,000 people. And also, I put out there the annual graduate numbers on the third column, excluding the ranking numbers, and also the total population size. If you look at Beijing, of course, Beijing right now is number one, which is understandable. Shanxi, Hubei rank number two and number three. And if you look at Xinjiang is ranked number 28, so it's still ahead of Vietnam. Okay, today this will be the end of the video. I provided sufficient economic indicator and the ranking result to help you in your business decision or your career. Hopefully, you will find this information very useful. Again, thanks for watching my video, and I hope you like my video. Please do subscribe my video or follow my video and circulate my video to all your friends so that they can also enjoy this video. Thank you very much for watching. See you next video. Bye bye.